It's Monday, April 20th, and getting ready to plant some corn, hopefully. I don't think I'm probably going to end up starting today just because I've been kind of getting things finalized and it's still a little bit wet, but I'm fairly confident things are going to go tomorrow. Sun's supposed to shine, and I think the soil temperature is getting up there to where things should be pretty safe. I've been working on kind of getting the last few things tuned up on the corn planter, so we got tires checked here a little bit ago, and I've been working on getting all of the electronic stuff working and set up in the ag leader integra there, because in the past I used a different monitor to run the planter. This one has auto steer and has stayed in this tractor, but this tractor last year just was used for anhydrous and tillage. So one of the things that's been sort of haunting my dreams a little bit is this marker switch setup. So this is what the switch should look like, or the original one. So you'll notice it's off, automatic, advance. So there's a switch that will alternate every time you pick the planter up. So assuming you're planting in a nice square flat field, or don't have intakes for terraces at least, it'll automatically pick up the left marker and then switch so that it drops the right marker when you let down the next time. So that would be off. Then when it's in the center position, it's going to be running automatically, and then if I push down, it'll advance to the next one. So right now it's left. If I push that, it should go to the right. And this switch was really mucked up. So I got a new one from Case. I've checked about 5 times, and this is the only switch that cross-references to this type of marker control thing. But the first thing that you'll notice, so this is like $40 for first off, which is pretty ridiculous for a toggle switch, but if it's the right one, maybe worth it. The problem is, they changed stuff. So if you'll notice, this one has like the 3 tabs, angle, straight, angle. This one is 3 straight and a totally different configuration. And the other sort of annoying part of this is that the switch mechanism, or like the switch positions for the pins, won't work to match the stuff on my plate. So I think, from what I can tell, it would be like basically on, and then you would have to go, that would be off, and then advance to go down, which is pretty annoying. So after screwing around for probably an hour, maybe more than that even, trying to figure out how to make this stupid thing work, I ended up just taking this switch apart and cleaning everything up with brake cleaner, and I think it's going to work good enough that that's what we're going to do for the time being. I need to get a hold of the dealer and find out exactly what Case says about this switch, and see if I can return it, since it doesn't seem to be the right thing, even though that's what all the parts book stuff indicates I need. I was willing to pay $40 to get the right switch, but I'm not too excited about paying $40 for the wrong one. Looking at the parts book stuff a little closer, it seems like they maybe changed at some point. So instead of being off, automatic, advance, you're manually running left, off, right. But that's not how the planter is wired. So I don't know if there was some revised wiring stuff at some point or what the deal is. But in any case, if I knew it was going to be the wrong switch, I would have just bought a single acting toggle switch and a push button switch, and I could have replaced this thing with 2 switches that cost $5 a piece, probably, or less. But them's the breaks. So not sure what's going to happen with that, but thanks, Case, appreciate it. I think the next thing on my list is probably to pull this out in the field and not put any seed in it or anything, but just drop it in the ground and kind of see how everything appears to be working, and kind of check that the depth is even with between all the row units, at least on a course level. So I'll just go pull it through the dirt a little bit and then stop and walk back and kind of measure with my finger how deep the seed trench is between the openers and the closing discs. And also kind of try to do at least a sanity check that the row clutches are going to work the way that I want them to. So like basically the way that the clutches work, like if you're doing point rows, you'll have a pass here, and then as the planter comes in at an angle, you'll turn off. So like this row, or let's see, this row would hit first if you were going this way. So like, you know, it'll turn the first row off, and then as they pass sequentially across the planter. So I'm set up for 6 2-row sections, and basically we'll just make the monitor think that I'm planting something even though there's no seed in the planter, and then loop around and plant into that at an angle and make sure that the cutoff wheels pop down in the correct order. It's going to be kind of hard to tell if they're the right timing until I actually have seed in the planter, but I did get the timings pulled out of the other monitor, so I'm hopeful that that won't have changed as long as I have everything else correct dimensionally, as far as the tractor hitch and antenna position and all of that stuff. But probably I'll end up doing some digging tomorrow when I first start planting to see if things are working correctly and that I'm not getting a bunch of overlap or like leaving a gap where it's not planting all the way into the row that you're running into, or the end row. So that's pretty much where things are at the moment, I guess. Gonna kind of check the checklist, so to speak, and see if there's anything else that I need to take a look at while I've got the tractor sitting here. The other, I guess, kind of project that I probably should try to do tonight. So when I bought this tractor, it was December, and it was cold, which made it hard to check the air conditioner to see if it worked. So I sort of trusted that it worked. They said it did. Turns out no. So I've ran it actually 2 springs without air conditioning at all, which hasn't been too bad doing in hydrous and tillage because normally it's cool enough out that you don't suffer too much. And last fall was relatively cool when we were running on the grain cart, or at least you weren't in the tractor very long. But if we're planting and it gets warm and sunny, this cab is kind of like a big glass greenhouse, so it gets kind of hot. So I kind of want to try to get that fixed, and I think I have the parts to do that. Basically, from what it looked like, there was absolutely no Freon in the system, and there was a massive leak inside the compressor, but I don't think the compressor self-destructed or like put metal pieces through the system, hopefully. So I've got a compressor and a new receiver dryer, but have to get that installed and then vacuum the system down and see if it holds and make sure that I don't have any other O-rings leaking or anything like that. So that's going to be a little bit of a project in itself, and since it's not mission critical and it looks like it might rain towards the end of the week, probably I'm going to go kind of make sure that the planter is in generally working condition, and then hopefully I'll have enough time yet this evening to mess with the air conditioner. I'm hoping that it won't take too long to do that, but there's always surprises, so we'll see how things go. So one other thing I want to do is take some weight off of this. I don't need it for traction, I don't think, and I don't want to pack things down any more than I have to, just so that the corn grows nicely. I probably will leave maybe like 4 on, but I've got 10 right now, 220-pound weights, which is quite a bit of weight on the front end of this. So I'm going to pull some of these off and hopefully not hurt myself. I think you can pull the whole thing off as one assembly, but since I want to leave some on and kind of see how it acts, that wasn't really an option. I got things loosened up, so hopefully I can get the bolts out of there and then pull 3 off each side and leave a little bit. Well, I got a couple off without dropping them on my toes, but I didn't feel very safe about it. So we brought in the mechanical advantage here, so I'm just going to use this to hopefully pick them up and get them set on the ground, and then I'll be able to wrestle over to where we're going to store them over here. At least that's the theory. I'm not really sure how these things are balanced, so hopefully this goes smoothly. We got 6 off, and the boom hoist actually worked pretty slick. Ended up making basically a loop through the handle here on the front, and then there's kind of a square hole back there where there's some retainers that you use to bolt them back to the tractor to keep them from moving around. And then basically got one chain on one side of the weight and the other half of the loop on the other, so that it wouldn't flip as you picked it up, and then basically just went underneath the bottom and hooked it back to itself, so that way the weight is sort of able to pivot on the end of the pole so it doesn't bind up. Actually worked better than I thought it might. So next step is going to be to get those dressled over here. I think probably I'm just going to do that by hand. If I'd planned ahead or fully appreciated how much of a pain these things were going to be to move, I probably would have put the tractor in a little different spot and done more with the boom pole, but I needed some work out. I got the weights all moved over, put in their resting place for the time being. But it seems I have a couple other issues now, because the bolts that previously went through the stack to squeeze them together are now way too long to be useful in any fashion. And the possibly bigger problem, because I mean it wouldn't be that big of a deal to find a 6-inch long bolt and nut and a couple pieces of metal. But these bolts back here at the back that hold the weights to the tractor so that they can't bounce up and down or anything. The area that this piece on the back fits into doesn't go all the way to the center. So I was able to get this one sort of put in cockeyed to sort of clamp a little bit, but the other side I couldn't get to tighten down at all. Like once I tightened the bolt, it would just try to pull this piece out the side. So I'm not sure what that means exactly yet. It might mean that I end up just taking the weights off entirely, which if I do, it would have been a lot easier to take them off in one chunk. But learning experience, I guess. For the time being, I'm going to go try to drop this in the ground before it gets completely dark. It's about 7:35 or 7:25 rather right now, so as long as I don't screw around too much, I should be able to do a basic test at least. But I've got the bolt that I couldn't get to hold anything on the other side squeezing together because it happened to be the right width for that. But probably have a little bit more to do on this project, either securing the weights better or taking the last 4 off. We were closing in on 9 o'clock and I'm going to quit for the night. I was able to get the planter out in the field just a little bit to kind of try it out. It seemed like it's working okay for the most part. A few things I kind of want to check a little closer and tweak possibly tomorrow, but that's kind of par for the course. I did get the air conditioner compressor pulled off of the tractor, and I'm a little apprehensive about the situation now. I really thought it was just a bad seal in the compressor, and that swapping the compressor hopefully would fix the problem, but it seems like there's maybe some chunks of metal in the lines, so I kind of feel like probably I should try to flush stuff at least before I put a bunch of new parts on there and destroy them. So probably that means I'm going to suffer tomorrow planting corn, but hopefully it'll either be tolerable or we'll get a weather break that I can take some time to get it straightened out hopefully in the next few days.